If a ruler listens to lies, all his officials will be wicked. Proverbs 29, verse 12. So welcome back, guys, to another episode of the True Strength Life podcast. Today, hopefully short and sweet episode. We're going to be talking. We're going to just touch on some mostly just recent news. So we're going to be touching on Mark Carney is the new Canadian Prime Minister. RFK getting food dyes out of foods. Casey Means is nominated by Trump to be the Surgeon General. Trump's Mother's Day weekend wins. The new Pope. And I have a very highly suggested podcast recommendation for you.
You don't have to know a lot of things in order to make a huge difference for the Lord in the world. But you do need to know a few things that are great and be willing to live for them and die for them.
Will I let Jesus prove to me that He's truly my strength? To let Him prove inside of me that through Him I can do all things.
The True Strength Life podcast with Aaron Simpkins.
Real quick, this is an independent podcast. I'm a family man. I got kids to feed. So before we jump into this episode, I got to give you the ways that you can honestly financially support this show. I want it to hopefully be ways that can help you instead of just handing me money. I want it to help you too. So when you want to buy some good Christian clothing at truestrengthapparel.com, use code podcast for 10% off. If you want to buy some high quality protein, you at sciencesups.com, 15% off. Use code TrueStrength. When you're going to buy any of your supplements that you're going to buy anyway, go to tigerfitness.com and use the affiliate link that's in the show notes. That'll be there. I did write a book, ABC Primer, using the Bible to help teach kids the alphabet. Buy this on Amazon. The link will be in the show notes. And if you could, listen on Spotify and YouTube. Those are the two preferred platforms for a creator. So to help us the most for platform-wise, what you're going to listen on Spotify and YouTube. And then, again, I ask for a follow, a subscribe, like and comment, a rate. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Jump into the episode. So let's jump into Mark Carney. Mark Carney is Canada's 24th Prime Minister. He was elected leader of the Liberal Party of Canada and sworn in as Prime Minister in March 2025. So, okay, why am I talking about this? Obviously, Canada is a neighbor of ours, and through I became more aware, at least. I'm still not very aware, but more aware of what goes on in Canada and their politics and all during COVID, because there was actually a number of Christian pastors who were jailed just simply for trying to keep their church open. And to some of you that's controversial, to some of you that's like, yeah, why? Like, duh. Why would we not try to keep our church doors open, especially in a country like Canada that generally, is a first world Western country that generally is pretty free, not as free as America, but generally pretty free and generally very open to Christianity. And So, pastors were put in jail, some of them for a while, purely just for trying to keep their doors open. Even trying to, within their church doors, trying to abide by what the government wanted people to do if they were around other people, trying to abide by that. But just because they had their doors open and didn't want to lock them up and chain them up like the government wanted them to, they went to jail for it. You know, the evilest crime in the world of trying to keep the church open. And if you don't think something like that could happen in America, I don't know where your mind exists, because it doesn't exist in reality. So that's important, because if it's happening right in Canada, it definitely could happen here. Now, saying that, Canada got away with a lot of that because they had Justin Trudeau, a very, very, very leftist, liberal prime minister. And the country as a whole, a lot of Canadians were very unhappy with him. And he was very, he was too liberal for them. So why this, makes news, at least, here in America, that who their next prime minister is because when Trudeau announced that he was going to leave, and then he did leave as prime minister, the favorite to win was a very conservative candidate. I forget the guy's name. I should have had that in front of me, but a very conservative candidate, and he, by basically any poll, very credible polls, the most polls had him winning. The chance of him winning at like 80 or 90%. No lie, that's about what it was. And he did such a bad job campaigning that he went from an 80 or 90% chance of winning to then losing, and Mark Carney, another Justin Trudeau, like very liberal leftist, gets elected. It says a few things. It says, number one, how bad of a campaign, bad of a job the conservative guy did, but also how quickly the population, can forget how bad things were and still just vote their own status quo. And it's just something, you need to think about, something to remember as you go forward and cast your vote, here in this country. So, moving on. RFK gets food dyes out of foods. Speaking more on that, I have a little video for you to play. I think it's about a minute long. I'm sorry for anybody watching this video. I don't have my technology up yet, and yeah, it looks, pretty ghetto. I'm just holding my phone up to the microphone. For you audio listeners, it probably doesn't even matter, and it probably sounds fine. But for you video guys, I'm sorry. But this is a news clip from, I think it was News Nation. It's of a lady, her online handle is The Food Babe. And she's very big on, she's a very highly influential person, especially on social media, in terms of the Make America Healthy Again movement, and just trying to do things policy-wise for the health of Americans. And so here's her explaining more in detail about what the banning of the food dyes actually is. So let me start this over real quick. Here it is.
They're on board for this. To remind everybody that this is not a law, but he does say that they are on board to get rid of it by 2026. But it seemed like he was putting them on notice, like this is just sort of the first chip to fall. What do you think is next?
That's right. This is a multi-step process. The first is a voluntary look and getting the food companies to do this voluntarily and to put the pressure on and to get the truth out about the harmful effects of these dyes. That day at HHS, it was amazing. The FDA put a stake in the ground. The food industry can no longer hide behind the fact that the FDA deems these artificial dyes safe. They said they were linked to hyperactivity, obesity, diabetes, even GI issues, looking at the expertise of our new commissioner, who was a gastrointestinal surgeon. So this is something that is new coming out of the FDA, new information for the American public. This is going to have waves across the American landscape, and mothers and fathers who have never heard about these issues are going to be hearing about them for the first time. The food industry can no longer hide. They are on the run, and there is a multi-step process taking place. They're not only going to voluntarily ask this, but they're going to look at the regulatory mechanisms that they can use to hold them accountable. And the first thing they're going to do is revoke 2 of the dyes, then look at the next 6 within the next 18 months. Then they're going to increase the amount of natural dyes available, which is absolutely incredible for our agriculture and the farmers here in the United States, because they're going to grow more spinach and turmeric and saffron and carrots. So bringing more biodiversity, not just the corn and the soy that we have currently being planted in the United States. So this is overall just so good for our food system and for our bodies.
Okay. And as we talk more, you talk.
So, as she alluded to there, this isn't something that's going to happen immediately. It's not widespread. Every single dye is automatically gone. This is something that's, it's a step-by-step process, which most of these things, always are that. Obviously, the attention-grabbing headline is RFK bans food dyes, but it doesn't exactly happen that way. This is just the first major step to getting that process going. Still good. I did see, I believe, looking to this, I may be wrong, but I believe I did see that Pepsi said by 2026, because of this, they're planning on having all food dyes out of their anything that they make. So I mean, like, this is a major step in the right direction. Is it a one thing, fixes all problems? No, it's not. But this is the type of step that needed to be taken towards the better health of us citizens. Now, that to be said, you also should have the mentality, it shouldn't take the government doing this and people in government doing this for you to take control of your own health. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, your health is in your hands. Now, with that being said, there was another major move that Trump just announced recently. He nominated Dr. Casey Means to be Surgeon General. I loved this because Casey Means is, again, one of the top people that have been a part of the Make America Healthy Again movement. And Casey Means, she has a book called Good Energy, really good book. She's not a Christian, so she's got some foo-foo new age stuff in there a little bit in terms of spirituality. But in terms of physical health and even some mental stuff, the book is amazing. And so I was super pumped to hear this, that Casey Means was nominated by Trump to have a position. But at the same time, to be honest, I didn't know exactly really what that meant. What is Surgeon General? But, well, first let me say this. It's funny that what I'm about to say, so I'm going to read another Food Babe post. She said, if you believe Dr. Casey Means isn't qualified to be our next Surgeon General, you must read this. Then she goes on a couple pages. But it's funny that I came across this post that said this, because that's the big narrative now, because obviously it's a Trump move. So that, the noise on the internet is going to be anti whatever he does. So, because he nominates Casey Means, now the whole internet is against Casey Means. Whatever. So the main thing that they're going with is that Casey Means is not qualified for this position because she's not didn't have a residency or something with not being a full-fledged doctor the way they want her to be. But here's this post, and this is why it's important, I think, to read this post. And it's and interesting too. This was brought up to me in person by somebody just a couple days ago because I brought this up. I was like, oh, yo, it's so dope that Casey Means got nominated. And the first thing he said was, yeah, but I don't really know if she's qualified for this. And it caught me off guard because I actually hadn't heard it before. I'm not in, leftist internet. And so let me read this post. If you don't think Dr. Casey Means is qualified to be our Surgeon General, read this. Again, this is the Food Babe on her Instagram. Dr. Means has had a valid medical license for 11 years, and it is current. So there's a screenshot of it. It's quote-unquote inactive because she voluntarily stopped seeing patients when she became disillusioned with the bureaucratic medical establishment. She didn't want to be a part of a system that was keeping Americans sick. I respect that, and I agree with it. Dr. Means did over a year more residency than our last Surgeon General. So that was the main argument that I heard, was she didn't finish her residency or something. Well, if she didn't finish it, she still did more residency than the last one, last guy that was Surgeon General. She also had an independent private practice after residency. Our previous Surgeon General took $2.6 million in pandemic consulting fees since 2020. Yet Dr. Means is being called a grifter. All right, so I'll skip all that. You can read that for yourselves. And he goes on to say, a veterinarian was considered qualified, air quotes, to serve as Surgeon General in the past. That was Robert Whitney under, I believe that was Clinton in 93. What is the actual role of the U.S. Surgeon General? This is the main part I want to read because this helped me. What is a Surgeon General? Dr. David Perlmutter? That's an interesting last name. Dr. David Perlmutter, MD, said it best. He said, the role of the Surgeon General is not to perform surgery or manage a clinic. It is to communicate science clearly, shape public health policy, and inspire national behavior change. Dr. Means excels in all of these, and she 100% absolutely does. She is a visionary communicator who bridges cutting-edge science with public understanding, a systems thinker fluent in the intersection of health, technology, and policy, and a trusted voice to both professionals and the public. It goes on to say, Dr. Means is praised by several prestigious medical doctors for being one of the best and brightest in the field. And then it just shows screenshot after screenshot of these different doctors praising her and lending to her, credibility medically. So again, I think that's super dope. I hope that goes through. She's the nominee, so it hasn't officially happened that she is the Surgeon General. But obviously she was nominated by the president, so that's got the most weight behind it in terms of a nominee. So I hope that goes through. Let's see. All right, I got another clip for you. Trump's Mother's Day weekend, he kind of did a lot of stuff. So I'm going to play this real quick. Here we go.
Keeping track at home. Let's look at the scorecard. In just a few days, President Trump secured a UK trade deal, a China trade deal, ceasefire between India and Pakistan, release of the American hostage from Hamas, a ceasefire with the Houthis, and I know I'm leaving out a whole bunch of stuff. He accomplished more over Mother's Day weekend than Biden accomplished in 4 years. You're keeping track of.
So, what did he say before? You're going to win so much you'll be tired of winning. I mean, all those things sound pretty good to me. And on top of all those wins that I just mentioned with, RFK and the food dyes, and there was even some other, I forget what it was now. Dang it, that would have helped a lot. But, anything that RFK does positive is a positive under Trump. So that's another Trump administration win. So just winning. I don't know what else to say. There's a lot of winning happening, and if you're if you like what's been happening and you believe it's all what he's been doing is winning, then you're on the right side of history. I'm sure if I was to have every single thing that he's done and all in front of me and a whole list, I'm sure I could pick out plenty of things that I disagree with or prefer that he didn't do that way. I'm sure. But in terms of as a whole, it's winning. It's winning. We're just over 100 days, secured the border in less than 100 days, and Biden just opened it more in 4 years. The people are freaking out about the tariff stuff, and that's turning around. The economy's looking better. It's just winning. There's my commentary. It's just winning. Got a new pope. They got a new pope. This is major news for a lot of people. A lot of people also don't care. I'm not Catholic, and I don't claim to know anything really about the papacy, but I know it's a huge deal for many millions of people. So let's talk about this for a second. The new pope, it's the first time ever there's an American pope, so that's kind of a big deal, I guess. And it's Robert Prevost. He will now go by Pope Leo the 14th. He was born in Chicago. He went to Villanova, and so lived there for in the area I'm around, tri-state area. Went to Nova, and is a dual citizen of America and Peru because he spent over 30 years in Peru in ministry. So the whole thing is Pope Bob, and Bob Pope. He's from Nova. I saw a reel of a guy the other day. He was, it was a funny, just joke, but it's true, and it's kind of cool in a way. He was freaking out. He was saying he's like the Pope, as a young guy, spent time and he went to Nova. He spent time in Delaware County. The Pope has been to Wawa. He has gone to Wawa. He's like, I need to know the Wawa order of the Pope. He's like, this is the greatest thing ever. It was just really funny. But again, I'm not Catholic. I don't particularly care about this. I don't quite understand why so many people do care about this. But that being said, it's not set up or certain, but I may have a Catholic brother on who could help talk through some of this stuff. I was talking with him a couple days ago. I joke. We can very openly joke with each other. Obviously, knowing we have very much agreement and disagreement on some things, but I tell him I'm like, bro, you're the most Christian Catholic that I know, and it confuses me that you're Catholic, but it's funny. And I was questioning him about the Pope and stuff, and I said we just need to talk about this on the podcast to gain a better understanding of help me understand why you care about this so much, why to Catholics it's a big deal, and just I think it'd be a cool conversation to have. So I want to finish up here with mentioning that earlier today I listened to a podcast on the Shawn Ryan podcast, very, very popular, one of the most popular podcasts in the world, the Shawn Ryan podcast. And I believe its most recent episode, depending on when you listen to this, episode 199 with Tim Tebow. And it's with Tim Tebow, and it's subtitled Fighting for Our Children. Number one, Tim Tebow is one of my favorite people in the world. And so anything like this that he does, I tune into. So you should listen to it just for that because it's Tim Tebow. He's just he's an awesome guy. And it gets into, they talk about many things. But the main thing I want to bring up is Tim Tebow's foundation now has a big part to play in fighting sex trafficking and even a little bit more specifically sex trafficking of kids. And so Tim Tebow's heart is for this and fighting it, and so is Shawn Ryan in bringing awareness and trying to be a part of it somehow. And so they talk a lot about this, and the statistics, the facts around the sex trafficking of children is so mind-blowingly evil and sad, but also something that we need to be aware of. And it's not like they talk about this much in the episode. It's not something that is so abstract and far away from us, which it is, but it's also happening in our backyard. America is in some categories is by far the worst in this, and in others is one of the worst. And it's just so insane. Like there were some moments listening to it, I had to just pause it, and I had to just pause it because, like, you know, I had to take a second to digest what they just said. Just the evil that was brought up, but like I said, it's something we need to be aware of, and I think especially as parents, because it's our job to protect our children, number one. Or I should say, it falls on us first to be the protectors of our children. And we would hope that we have friends and family around that would also protect our children. But it's on us first. And we have the most influence on what reaches them and who reaches them and things like that. So this type of information is the type of information that you need to know. I don't believe it's something. Tim Tebow had a good quote about this. I don't remember the quote, but I don't believe this is information that for comfort's sake we should try to push away from us and not hear. This shouldn't be something that we don't want to hear just because we want to stay in our comfort bubble. Because if we know we're about to hear something super evil and super uncomfortable and super bad when this subject starts coming up. So you know what? I don't even want to hear any of that stuff because I just want to stay comfortable in knowing that it's happening, but I don't want to know about it. I don't want to know what the actual numbers are. I don't want to know where it is. I don't want to know details. I'm okay knowing that it's evil, knowing that it exists, but nothing more. And he said, you know, how convenient is that for us to hold a position like that, especially as believers, where we should be fighting for the most vulnerable. And it was just a really important episode I think you need to listen to and check out. And convicting, definitely, because inspiring in a lot of ways too. There, you know, because like I said, they didn't just talk about this stuff. There was many inspiring things in it, and encouraging things. I just can't recommend that more. It's an episode I think you need to listen to. So I will link to, I guess, everything that I said in here or articles to it. I'll link the podcast episode in the show notes, as always. And with that, I thank you guys for tuning in. I'm sorry to kind of end on on a heavier note. I know I have a tendency to do that, but I hope that you you understand where I'm coming from and you hear my heart. But don't just hear my heart. Hear that episode. Listen to it. The Shawn Ryan podcast, episode 199 with Tim Tebow. Listen to that episode, and I hope that I hope you do. And if you do, let me know what you thought. And you know, send in the comments what you think about these other things I talked about. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. And remember, truth is strength. At the True Strength Life podcast, I'm sure you guys are aware that we want to do our small part to make America healthy again. So that's where protein comes in. We all need our protein. This is Quench Protein. Quench Protein is by Science Sups, ScienceSups.com. Quench Protein is a product made by genuinely one of my best friends in the whole world. So I'm very passionate about this product. I love this product. And in a super convenient single serving size pack like this that you can take anywhere, throw anywhere you need it. 22 grams of protein, only 100 calories, super good fruity flavor. None of that weird stuff. No artificial colors, no artificial flavors. It's a light, refreshing taste, sugar-free, lactose-free. It's not heavy. Super good, super convenient. Pina colada, strawberry melon, blue raspberry. Put your code TrueStrength, no space, TrueStrength in at ScienceSups.com. ScienceSupps.com for 15% off. The link will be in the show notes, ScienceSups.com. Go get it.